are listening to Loud on the Set with Kyle and James. Are you ready for an amazing journey through the world of terrible accents and stereotypes? And action!
All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Kyle.
This is James.
And today, James, what are we doing?
The Indiana Jones Trilogy.
Indiana Jones. Da, 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 da.
Da, da, da.
Yes.
Oh, wait, cut, Kyle.
Wait.
Before we get really hyped here.
A voice. A laughing voice.
We have a special guest.
We have a special guest joining us for the Indiana Jones Trilogy review. The wonderful Sarah is with us. Say hi, Sarah.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Sarah. How are you?
I am actually doing quite well. How are you?
Well, that's good.
Sarah, why the hell should we listen to you?
Why the hell should you listen to me?
That's
is an excellent question, James. I wonder that a lot when you're talking to me.
Oh, bird.
I happen to love the Indiana Jones movies.
Yes.
For a lot of reasons, but mostly because I actually went to college for anthropology. I've worked on a little bit of archaeology sites, although it was not my thing. And I even worked in an anthropology department after college for a while. And he makes what I used to do look sexy and cool in a way that does not exist in the real world. So it's like him and the TV show Bones made what we did look cool, and the reality is nowhere near as glamorous as either of those. But it's still got a deep connection to me with that, coolest possible version of what you used to do.
Excellent.
Wow.
Very cool.
I did not know that. Sarah works with us, right?
Sarah does work with us, or else it would have been a pretty hardcore slam to just come on the podcast and diss you out.
I know. But I like to think that Sarah is among one of our biggest fans as well, right?
I believe so. I think I am not quite a completist. I have skipped, but the only episodes I've skipped are ones about movies I haven't seen.
That makes sense.
I have them saved in my podcast archive so that when I eventually see those movies, I can listen to the podcast and find out what y'all thought.
Excellent.
Very good. And much like some of our other guests, we've been wanting to have Sarah on for a number of weeks now, right?
Yes, I would say that Sarah has been silently the driving force behind our inception of the podcast. From the very beginning, she was giving us tips and hints and listening, and was one of the first people to write an iTunes review on iTunes.
I think I was the first one.
You were the first one.
All right.
And so we had all that going for us. Sarah's an avid podcast listener, and what are we? Are we in your top 10?
Yeah, of course you are.
Okay, good.
Yes. All right,
she only listens to 10 podcasts. Yes. All right.
I listened to more than 10
Okay.
podcasts.
Excellent. So we cracked the list.
You did, which is hard to do.
Here we are. We made it. Indiana Jones. I love these movies. The trilogy of films that is Indiana Jones.
I believe the one thing the listeners should probably know is that before we decided to record this, we agreed we are not discussing The Crystal Skull because it is not an Indiana Jones movie.
We are not discussing it.
So I did rewatch the first 3 movies to prepare for this.
Thank you.
A few weeks ago because our taping was delayed a little, so it's not fresh anymore. But the only preparation I did on Crystal Skull was to watch the honest trailers to refresh myself on why it isn't an Indiana Jones movie.
Okay, so before we don't discuss Crystal Skull at all, I must say, I went and saw it opening weekend because, as an avid Indiana Jones fan, I wanted to see the newest Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
And the main failure of that film is that it just is not an Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And it looks like garbage. Looks like absolute garbage.
Oh my gosh, right? Like, worst CGI, it's
100%
terrible
garbage.
and sad. What's with the little, groundhog things?
Yeah.
God, it's
I
weird.
never saw it.
It was terrible.
My memories of Indiana Jones are untainted. And we have to address the elephant in the room as well. Not just Crystal Skull, but the recent announcement that there will be a 5th movie, Kyle.
I don't
What
know
the
what
fuck
to
are they
think of
doing, Sarah?
I don't know. I am reassured that Harrison Ford is in it. I'm reassured that the hat has not been passed because...
To Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, because that was a bad choice someone made.
Right.
I'm trying to be optimistic because I want another good Indiana Jones movie. And I feel like Star Wars kind of cracked that formula recently, and since they're vaguely connected in terms of, people involved with them, I'm hoping that maybe they can crack making a good new Indiana Jones movie.
I feel like he's got to die. Spoiler alert, he doesn't die in the trilogy, but I feel like he has to die martyring himself for, the the aspects of what he does. You know, they're digging up things from millions of years ago. He's got to go down and become that next millions.
No.
Maybe they're not even real sometimes, but he's got to go down and become the next big mystery. Somebody digs him up and goes, "Is this in a billion million years from now?" I feel like that's how it has to end.
That is like
he's got to die protecting the secret.
You know, like being excavated later is like every paleontologist and archaeologist's life dream. So that would be the most fulfilling thing that could happen to him, is if he got buried at a site and then was like found later and was a confusing, like out of place fossil or
That's
whatever.
awesome.
Although
What do you think?
I mean, I know. I hope you guys are just joking, because that would be wildly out of tone. The Indiana Jones celebrates the fact that he escapes everything.
That's true.
Right?
And the movie would take such a completely awkward, disturbing tone if he perished at some point. The bad guys die, and sort of assistants die and stuff like that in service to Indiana Jones. But oh boy, to have that would be. How would you deal with that?
I don't know. So let's talk about the films. Let's go.
Yeah, let's get
We're hitting the trilogy. We don't have a lot of time. We're going to do them all. So we're going to start at where you would start, which is in 1981. A pet project by George Lucas to avoid the heart attacks caused by Star Wars, the literal heart attacks he incurred in making the first Star Wars. He wanted to do something fun. He wanted to do something else. We have, boom, Raiders of the Lost Ark. So this comes out, it's that pulpy kind of serialized comic style action adventure with this iconic character, Indiana Jones. Probably the dumbest name for a hero in history, and yet it's so wonderful. It's classic.
Yeah, and it's a great name story, right? That Indiana was the name of George Lucas's dog.
Yes.
And what was the name they wanted to use? Was it Smith?
Something very generic.
Yeah, and Spielberg, right, said that he didn't like that, and they changed it to Jones. And so it was still meant to be like a very vague last name and a dog's first name.
Anybody can be Indiana Jones.
I did not know that it was named after a dog.
Yeah.
But you remember in the third film, in the Crusade,
joke.
we named you after the dog.
That's a really good impression. Jesus.
Junior.
Well, you need to do like a Bond retro.
I know, right?
Just for the accent.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Pretty funny.
Tell us about Raiders
Start
of the
us
Lost
off.
Ark.
First of all, you know what? Before we even hit Raiders, let's rank the films.
Yes.
Let's get our ranks, so then when we get to them, we have some meat and potatoes to talk about. Meat and potatoes to talk about. Okay, so Sarah, we'll start with you since you're our guest. Give us your rundown. What sits atop the Great Pyramid of Indiana Jones?
So I think Raiders is the best movie.
Okay.
And then I think Last Crusade and Temple of Doom is a distant third.
Oh, it's in everybody's bottom.
Although we'll get there.
Fuck.
Because I've thought about it.
Okay.
All right, we'll talk about it. You want my rankings?
Yes.
You want my rankings?
Of course I want your rankings.
Here are my rankings. Kyle, number one. Kyle and Sarah, excuse me. Number one is The Last Crusade.
Oh, interesting.
Number two, close behind, is the Temple of Doom. And then last but not least, is Raiders of the Lost Ark. Why do I put Raiders of the Lost Ark last? This is a little teaser, because I just don't have that many memories of it. I saw it a long time ago, and it's the one I've watched the least. And so it's not ranked last because it sucks, because it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just because the other two are deeply sort of seated in my brain. Kyle, your rankings.
I prepared a lot for this, obviously.
Research podcast.
I don't know. If I'm just doing it by my gut, it's 3-1-2. It's Crusade, Raiders, and Temple of Doom. But all of them are on the same level because I love them all, and I think they all are unique in how the tone and kind of the sub-genre they're representing. They all have a really interesting setting, really interesting plot, and I like the darker tone of Temple of Doom. I know that the general consensus is most people do not like Temple of Doom at all, but I thought it was really awesome. There's some really amazing scenes in there, some terror. It obviously was not for the children to be watching, and I think people go back and they have those goggles and they're like, oh, but it's gross, and we shouldn't be showing our kids. Well, no, they should not.
Yeah.
He's murdering Nazis in the first film. People getting chopped up by planes.
Oh my gosh, right?
Yes. So at any rate,
Yeah.
so I'd go 3-1-2. So let's start with Raiders. Sarah, it's your top ranked film. What do you love most about Raiders?
I love that it just flows really well. It goes away. It goes by fast. It's a long movie, but when I rewatched it, it went by much faster than the other two did.
Interesting.
And I really like sort of introductions and world building and things. So I think just like stepping into the world is normally a favorite thing for me. And I do just think it has the tone and everything that the other two movies sort of try to follow, but it has them a little bit better.
Excellent.
Excellent.
What about you?
Well,
It's your second ranked film.
again, I'm about as prepared. I'm only slightly more prepared for this podcast than Kyle is. At least I have my lucky podcast pencil here, and I have a note. Anyway, I don't have much to say about it, to be honest with you guys. Be honest. But I have a cool factoid for you about my own personal life. You ready?
Yeah.
I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark. The last time I watched it was 2 years ago, and I watched it at a field station in the Amazon jungle.
Whoa.
So I was watching a fictionalized version of the Amazon, and you know, there are savages running down Indiana Jones and chasing after him and all that stuff. But I was in the Amazon jungle.
Yeah.
How do you like that?
That's
is
pretty
epic.
cool.
Pretty interesting, right? Again, I don't remember much about it. In fact, I remember as a little kid catching it sort of towards the end more than anything else, and not really as a little kid understanding how the end fit with the beginning, because I would catch it in chunks, you know.
Yeah.
So I apologize, everybody. Fuck me. I'm really ready to talk about Temple of Doom.
Let's do that, because I think that's actually the most interesting one to talk about, right?
It is. So I'll hit Raiders
Yeah, go
really
for
quick
Raiders, yeah.
because I mean it was the first one I saw. I watched them in order when I went back and saw them, and it exemplifies itself from when I went to Disney World and I saw the live action spectacle that they put together with all the stunts and everything. Have you heard of this?
Oh yeah.
They do like the whole big stunt show and whatnot. And what came through in that film was something that I wasn't seeing in other movies at the time when I was a kid, which was that really gritty realism, people falling down. It was dusty, it looked hot, there was running, sweating,
And it really
snakes.
was too, right?
Right.
Like, my favorite thing about Raiders, just in terms of like, you know, movie history, is the scene with the swordsman.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, that was a hard movie to shoot. And, you know, like, one of the most iconic things Indiana Jones ever does, right? Is done literally because Harrison Ford had dysentery and could not stand long enough to shoot the epic sword battle they meant to do. So they ended up going with this, like, slightly dirty, slightly nasty, like, just, you know, shooting someone.
Yeah, pretty much the whole cast was in food poisoning dilemma, so they just impromptu decided to shoot him, and it becomes almost like the Han shoots first at Greedo situation. It exemplifies his character and just shows how resourceful and like ahead he is, and he is gonna cheat death in all situations. This master swordsman, everything. He's prepared. He knows what he's getting into. He's been doing this for a long time. So nothing exemplified adventure like Indiana Jones when I watched it. That being said, when I've gone back and watched it countless times since the first time I saw it, it's really interesting because the supernatural aspects of it that many people thought from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull were stupid are still there.
Yeah.
And it's how it's presented, and it's how it's kept a mystery, and it's how that's not the focus of the story. That mysticism can be there, and it can still be a part of the story and a big driving force behind it, the quest for knowledge that we can't know and moving around and trying to get as close as we can. And I just thought it was so wonderful, so nuanced and really fun. Yeah.
Excellent. I like the fact that you brought up that scene, because I have memories of when Indy shoots that guy. It was the first time when I was a little kid that an adult introduced me to sort of did you know style trivia, you know, because as a kid what you see on the screen is just that's it, like that's all they did, you know, because you don't know the intricacies of editing and the effort. You just think that that's everything they did is presented for me right there. I'm privy to everything. And I remember adults telling me, do you know that originally he was supposed to fight and he just decided to say fuck it and shoot the guy in that? And I thought to myself as a little kid, wow, that's really messing with my head a little bit here. He didn't follow direction. Like,
Yeah.
And yet the scene works wonderfully. I love Harrison Ford's expression. He just turns away. It's sort of like a exasperated, like, oh, enough of this shit. You know, like it's brilliant.
And I love the it's just another day in his life. The look on his face in that moment. Like it's another day in my life. There's a crazy swordsman trying to kill me in like a market in Cairo. So I'm just gonna shoot him and like walk away like nothing happened.
Yeah. The other thing about it that I really appreciate is it's a very awesome example of how good George Lucas can be at screenwriting when I guess there's not the weight of the world behind him. It was the beginning of something. He wrote this really fun, bouncy script. It's playful. It's not to be taken seriously at times, and at other times it can be taken seriously. It's almost like a big, overblown painting or idea of a situation, or like a memory. You think back on it, so things are embellished. The adventure is embellished. And you see that in flashbacks later on and in the other movies as well. So the embellishment of the adventure, it's always like the most awesome things that could be going on and the most coincidental things, but it's never forced. Like the bad date scene, I think about when that goes on. And he tosses it in the air and catches it right before it goes in his mouth, and you're like, whoa! And he cheats death once again and goes through that. So I really like the nuanced writing, and the character that Harrison Ford and the whole team put together is so well realized and so well rounded and very human. Fails in a lot of situations, has irrational fears of snakes, and he's a crazy adventurer. It's not like he just tears a snake in half and eats it like some CIA agent or something. He's scared of snakes, and that's hilarious because he's like in all these snakes and stuff. So yeah. Anyway, did I say snakes enough? Snakes.
We're moving on.
Why did it have to be snakes?
All right, Temple of Doom.
Junior.
When in doubt, fall back on that today. Temple of Doom, Sarah, you ready to move on?
I am very ready to
All
move
right,
on.
you had Temple of Doom ranked what? Last?
Yes, I did.
By a long shot.
By a long shot. I have it ranked second, almost number one. Second is almost number one.
It is almost number one.
Anyway, that's an inside joke. Don't worry about it. You may hear a little bit more about that later. But Temple of Doom, Sarah, take it away.
So, in rewatching Temple of Doom, I actually figured out, I think, why I don't like it and why a lot of people don't like it, which is that it does not feel like an Indiana Jones movie.
Bullshit!
It is not an Indiana Jones movie, and I'm sorry, James, that you disagree, but it actually reminds me, when I was watching it, and I realized that there's something more complicated going on because this movie was made later, but you know the live-action Scooby-Doo?
Yes.
There is a lot of overlap in like tone and shooting style and everything, especially the long scene in the mine is a lot like that long section underground.
Very interesting.
It reminded me, having not watched Temple of Doom in a really long time, because I don't like it very much, so I just watched the other two.
Are you trying to say that Scooby-Doo went back in time and influenced the Temple of Doom?
No, I actually think that Scooby-Doo might have been influenced by the Temple of Doom. I'm not a big believer in time travel. I'm also not a big believer in any of the other weird things that happens in the Indiana Jones movie. Time travel doesn't, but...
You know, I didn't know we'd be linking Scooby-Doo and Indiana Jones today, but now that I'm thinking about it, you know, that gang gets in a lot of mischief and in a lot of pickles where they magically get out of situations pretty easily too, with the help of some Scooby snacks and some very odd fears and faults in all their characters.
Well, I don't think Shaggy ever ripped some guy's heart out or macheted a bridge, because those scenes, to me, are what make Temple of Doom awesome, Kyle and Sarah.
They are awesome.
Yeah. Can I talk about Temple of Doom a little bit
please
and
do.
defend why I think it's awesome? When I think of Indiana Jones, and this is maybe just because I'm not old enough to have seen Raiders of the Lost Ark in the theater. I don't think I saw Temple of Doom in the theater. I would have been a little too young. But it was my first exposure to Indiana Jones, if you could imagine it being released on TV and things like that. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I watched these movies out of order. Like I probably watched Temple of Doom first. So that established my baseline of Indiana Jones.
There you go.
And to me, some of the set pieces of Temple of Doom are awesome.
They are.
Yeah.
And I would reenact them with my brothers and sisters. We've talked about this on the podcast. Slinging the whip around, pretending that we were cutting bridges in half and having people fall to their deaths into an alligator pit. We reenacted the ripping of somebody's heart out, and it's like, Shamdale, Shamdale, Shamdale.
The listeners are not appreciating the quality of the reenactment that was going on across the table.
We really need a video show.
Man.
There was some really high quality reenacting there of like motion and everything from the movie. I can tell that you've watched it a lot.
No, I have, and including the fucking heart bursts into flame, doesn't it?
Cool stuff.
The guy's alive looking at his own heart.
Yeah, no, it is cool stuff.
And then he gets loaded into a pit of flame, right?
Pit of
and
flame.
he comes up.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, he dies.
Is there a skeleton in the cage when he gets raised back up, or is he
something,
gone?
right?
Or it's just like, I can't remember.
I felt like there was something left. I don't know if it's a whole skeleton.
I know.
Maybe his diaper.
Or like rags or something. Rags hanging on it or whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway, another iconic set piece in that movie is yes, the coal car chase scene,
which is
right?
cool.
Which inspired so many fucking amusement park rides, right?
Yeah.
And video games, and it's a trope.
And I can
Awesome.
As being an advocate for all things animation, if you go back and watch that scene, about 80% of the minecart scene are claymation figures with stop motion. And when you watch it and you go frame by frame, it's amazing because they are clay figures on screen. But you are so in the world and it's so well done, like all other animation of that era, that it's so seamless and tricks you. But if you pause it, it's so unbelievably a claymation minecart with this silly dopey Indiana Jones in it, and his eyes are like too big for his head and stuff. But when you are in the moment, it's so amazing because it's just there and you're on for the ride and it is wonderful.
Those movies are like an ode to practical effects.
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you something.
Which is the failure of the Crystal Skull almost entirely, and making it feel not like Indiana Jones.
Sarah, since you had this movie ranked so low, give us some of the low points for you.
Like I said, for me,
Get into specifics.
oh my gosh, it's all about the tone for me. Because in rewatching it, I decided it's not a bad movie. It's just not a good Indiana Jones movie.
It is different. It's a lot slower. It's a slow burner too.
I really don't like the woman in it. That drives me up the wall.
You mean Spielberg's wife? What? Yeah, they got married after that.
Well, I'm very glad you said that because I'm going to piggyback. Can I piggy?
Please
as we said
do.
in the podcast?
Piggy.
You said that a couple podcasts.
Pay, Junior.
You're the junior.
This is actually true.
Junior.
I remember watching this as a little kid, and your worldview is informed. You watch things and whatnot. Yeah. But I remember having adults in my life complain about the woman character, and yes, say things like she only got the role because she was doing this, that, and the other thing with Spielberg and blah blah blah, and how she's such a worthless piece of shit that just yells and screams and cries Indy the whole time. And as a little kid, I didn't have an opinion on the girl. To me, she was just a lady. She was just a damsel of the movie that needed rescuing by Indy. So fine. But when you hear other adults, when they see these ideas in your head, suddenly someone who is completely benign or just part of the story to you, a woman, it becomes annoying as shit. And she just Indy, and she's there to show off her stuff. What an annoying. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the sidekick, Shorty?
I love Shorty.
You like Short Round?
Yeah, I do. I like Short Round.
See, I like Short Round too.
Hilarious.
Or a Yankee hat.
Yeah. I almost wish that he could have gone on to be in another movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's unfortunate I can do a stereotypical
Short
accent
Round.
of Sean Connery, but I can't do a Short Round
I think that's
impression
actually probably not a bad
without...
Well, Sarah, since you love the character so much, you want to give it a shot? Short Round?
No.
There's some overt differences between the Sean Connery impression and the Short Round impression.
Yeah, we might get brought up on racism charges if we... Anyway.
It's interesting. Anyway.
It is a very racist character.
Yeah, it is.
That movie is full of a lot of really offensive racist and sexist tropes,
especially
right? Like all
Temple
the
of Doom.
characters are just like the other movies are a little less just disgusting in terms of culture and stuff, right?
And like the cannibal voodoo people living in the mountains, just like, oh, we'll just invent these people because that seems like an indigenous thing. We'll throw them in here. Cannibals, voodoo, drink blood, all that.
Swarthy monkey brain eating.
Right, eat the monkey brains. Oh my god.
Even the scene in Shanghai in the beginning is just terrible.
Yes.
Like there is no break from terrible like racist tropes in that movie.
And sexist.
And sexist. Thank you for throwing that in, James.
Yeah.
I'm a feminist.
I know you are.
So when we look at it like that, it is kind of shitty that it does that. Yeah.
But it's a fun movie.
It is fun. And you know, the glitz and glam, the images that are up there and everything, all looks really cool. That, like you said, the ending is really awesome, the spectacle of it all. But as you mentioned before, it is different. It does have that slower feel. It's got the much more build up towards the end, and lots of more darker imagery and things that I don't think people were expecting after Raiders. And I think that's where the initial criticism started to come from.
All right, last 2 points I had for it is number one, I love the way Indy looks at the end of the movie because he is sweating like crazy. His clothes are reduced to like rags. His hand is bandaged up. He's got the machete.
Mm-hmm.
He's really beat down. He's probably bloody and whatnot. So that's to me an iconic image of Indiana Jones. Towards the end, he's gone through hell. You know, he's been slammed against the rock face by the bridge. He's fought the guy on the ladder. He almost had his heart ripped out. Remember that?
You get the impression that this just isn't business as usual, like in Raiders.
Yeah.
Some parts. This is all new ground, and it's scary, and the stakes are high.
Yeah. And the second thing I wanted to ask you guys was this. Were you ever as a kid like flying around your bicycle, and if something was about to sort of, if you came upon, I don't know, in my neighborhood we had things that you hit your head, like maybe a piece of the playground, like monkey bars or something, was kind of low, so you'd intentionally ride your bike under them and duck, and you pretend you were on the cause, right?
Of course, and like you were riding the horse, and your hat comes. I can't remember how many times I've dropped something and I've like rolled and reached back for it and was like, yeah, Indiana Jones, under the wall, you know.
California Jones.
Okay, so yeah, that exists, my friend. I'll find that footage and I'll link it somewhere after I find it, wherever it's buried. So before we go on to the third one, we talked about the pros and cons of Temple of Doom.
Right.
What about the cons of Raiders? Are there any cons with Raiders? What's bad about Raiders? Something's got to be bad.
Yeah.
Can't make a flawless piece of art, right?
This is for you, Sarah.
Oh, it's for me?
Yeah, for anyone.
I feel like someone who rated it low should start with the cons.
Fuck me, I'm not
not
prepared.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kyle, cons, Raiders. We got nothing here.
The first thing that comes to my mind is
it drags a little at the end. And then there's like the sort of long extended like chase from like getting out of the site up to the cars, and then you get to the city, and then they're on the submarine, and then they're on the boat.
And it's a lot of exposition where you could pick one of those things, and then boom, they're there, and problem solved.
I was rewatching it, I'd forgotten how long they spend like in that segment of the movie that maybe is not my favorite part, actually.
And I think that gets refined and done really well in The Last Crusade, the journey aspect of it, with no fat on it. But something about Raiders, the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking about something that was wrong with Raiders is just the fallback on the bad Nazi thing, you know, and just going there. Of course Nazis want the Ark of the Covenant. Why wouldn't they? Oh, yes, Ark of the Covenant, yes. Of course they would. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of like the, where would you go? You know, you have Indiana Jones, and who is he going to go after? Nazis. Okay, that's fine. We'll go Nazis. That's cool.
Halloween needs a bad guy, Nazis.
Right.
Star Wars needs bad guys, Nazis. Tarantino needs a bad guy, Nazis.
Yeah, you can kind of kill as many Nazis as you want, and nobody really cares.
Yeah, there's no stakes to it, right? It's like, okay, he's just killing these people and like senseless murder, and there's no purpose for it because we've been desensitized to that, and it's culturally desensitized. Anyway,
which is actually horrible.
Right. So anyway, moving forward, let's talk Last Crusade. You ranked it number 1. Yes. I ranked it number 1. You ranked it number 2 behind Raiders. Yeah. So let's start with number 2. Where does it fall short of the Raiders pedestal?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about what the best way to sort of explain what I don't like about it is. I think some of it is the familiarity thing, just like y'all had with your movies. That I have watched Raiders a lot more than I've watched The Last Crusade. I think it gets a little too explicitly Christian to me at parts. Like, I can kind of live with the vague Judeo-Christian Ark of the Covenant thing in Raiders, but it gets a little like Christian mysticism, like people living for like 1,000 years.
And it makes it real.
And it does.
It puts it there, and they're saying this is real in our universe, and this is what's happening. There's no more of the sort of powers that might be behind it. You know, like what was in the Ark? Well, we all know what we think was in the Ark, but we don't know what the hell was in the Ark. It flew out and melted people's faces and blew up their heads and everything. But he's holding the cup of Christ, and the knight is there protecting it and everything. So it does have that really implied religious aspect to it. That is for sure. Yeah.
What an excellent point. I never thought about that. I always was so caught up in the hype of the adventure, and I like the way the story unfolds, and I like the piecing together the clues and the sort of
I love the clues.
Scavenger hunt style to me of this movie was handled beautifully. You know?
And I love the father-son relationship in it, right?
Oh, it's
they
great.
do an amazing job of like setting up a failed father-son relationship and coming up with like the only thing, right, that could bring them together, that could save their relationship, like, and it does. And that is a wonderfully told story.
Yeah, and how about that solid intro with River Phoenix as young Indiana Jones? It belongs in a museum. And he cuts his chin with the whip to explain the ever-present Harrison Ford scar he got from his car accident. Everybody was like, "What's with the scar?" And they're like, "Oh, nothing."
There was
I
this
guess
time where
we'll write it in. So that was kind of cool, just like the dog thing. But yeah, I love that intro bit and segging it into the he's back all these years later. He's still the professor at the university. That's wonderful.
And those are some of my favorite scenes, actually. Always the scenes at the university. They're kind of throwaways.
Oh,
but again, I think because I like discovered it through being an anthropology major and caring about this stuff, like the image that, you know, your professor could be Indiana Jones, or that you could be Indiana Jones.
And it's like his secret, his legacy, his hidden piece that maybe one day somebody will unlock, and they'll be like, "Holy crap, my history professor in college was this crazy guy who did all this stuff. Killed more Nazis every day."
Like a whip-yielding fucking adventuring. Is this the movie where the girl student had written on her eyelids, "I love you," and she slowly blinked?
Isn't that the first movie?
Is that the first movie?
I think that's in the intro of the first movie, but the scenes are so similar in my head, right? The scenes are almost the same, and it's the same, like, all of his female students throwing themselves at him, which has some, like, moral interesting points, especially given the time period that it's set in, just because, you know, But,
it does.
Well, you know.
I always thought that would be the coolest thing to have a student do that, to be honest with you.
Oh,
of the appropriate age, right? Like,
if you're your student, there is no appropriate age.
That's true, actually. I do abide by that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I still think it'd be cool.
But
it's that's your feelings with a lot of movies where you're like, "Wow, that was cool." And was it good? No, it sucked, but it was cool. We're seeing a lot of that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna take over Crusade here for a minute, just because I rank it so highly as well. And I have to start this by saying, over time, Connery has worn me down to the bone. Of all the movies that I see and everything I read about him and hear him say and stuff, the mystery and majesty of Sean Connery is like gone from me. But I remember the first few times that I watched this and how special and wonderful it was that I like hold on to that. Because when I watch it now, I'm just like, you jerk. That's all I think about. And I get lost in that, and I think about the James Bond films and how I used to love the first couple of Bond films because they were so classic, and then now I watch them and I'm like, what a misogynistic asshole. It's like, that's where my mind goes now. But the first couple of times were very special. The relationship, the acting is incredibly wonderful. Nobody else could play Indiana Jones' father. I just can't think of anybody else that could have slotted in there that would have been so perfectly suited for that role.
Which makes sense, because when they were thinking about the character Indiana Jones, they thought about Sean Connery. And Sean Connery's Bond is something that was, when Lucas wrote the character and when he's working with Spielberg, that was someone they had in mind, was Sean Connery's Bond, right? And so it's great that they brought him in, because he was the natural, like, besides, the accent's a little weird.
Yeah.
They never really.
The accent's a little weird.
They never really explain. Like, I assume that his dad is an immigrant or something, but it's never like really explained why his dad has this like really, really strong accent, and Indiana Jones has nothing at all, right?
Yeah.
Like, even when he's a kid.
That's a good point. I didn't
'Cause,
think
like-
about that one bit.
Yeah, because I had my parents' accent till
Yeah.
I was like in middle school, verging into high school. And
Wait,
so
what? You did what?
And my parents are English.
Yeah, but you had a British accent at one
Yeah,
point?
I have some videos sometime I can give you of me.
Can you
had, like,
fake a British accent right now just for fun?
You know, the funny thing is I actually can't, because I got rid of it deliberately because I was getting bullied for it. And so there's like a
fuck
mental
bullies.
block in my head that I can't fake it when I'm around British people, and especially when I go to England. It starts to come back. It takes a little bit, but I do start to get my accent back, and I'm sure if I moved there I'd get most of it back, but I can't
That's super
consciously
sad.
do it.
Code switching, Kyle. Isn't
I
it
hate
fascinating?
that.
Oh my god, I love
switching?
code
If I
switching.
talk like Sean Connery from now on,
This
do you
be-
think people will bully me?
This become
Yes.
no, it'll become the Sean Connery podcast, and then I will leave.
Yeah, you can have your own podcast.
All right, I got some highlights. You ready? You guys ready
Yes,
for this?
I am.
Yes.
Last Crusade. First of all, the motorcycle chase scene.
Oh my gosh, right?
You have no idea how badly after that I wanted to be riding my bike. See, a lot of my Indiana Jones memories sort of bring back good memories of childhood.
And put the sidecar on it.
And stick a stick in somebody's fucking spokes and make him go flying, because when Indiana Jones did that to the bad guy, remember he stuck
Yep.
I was like, genius, that would absolutely do that. They'd go end over end. I never got a chance to do it.
Oh, you didn't?
The
Oh, good.
motorcycle chase scene is great, and yes, Connery in the sidecar is very funny and all that stuff. I thought the meeting. I remember being a little kid and thinking the meeting Hitler scene where he autographs
Oh,
his book
yeah. That's pretty funny, actually.
was pretty clever, right?
It
Yeah,
was clever.
Really clever.
And it was a good realization that they needed to do something with Nazis instead of just shoot them and have them be evil.
Yeah.
And they had to actually like formulate something that was going on and link it to the plot pretty well.
I also feel like there's a little more differentiation in that movie between like the like low level Nazis who are just like doing their job and people higher up the chain, and then throwing in Hitler throws, at least to me, because I think about these things like the moral universe, that like, you know, this is the bad Nazi. Like there's Nazis in there that are not good people, but you know, are nowhere near as bad, and it makes me think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Connery wasn't a good person. He was like
Oh god.
worst Dad of the Year award for every year running in his life. So yeah, it puts that in perspective. It's like the weighing of what they're doing, and I think that they come to realize that too at the end. Like, we gotta let this go. You know, they find everything, they unlock the secrets, and it's like it's not worth it. You know, we're not gonna go crazy over this and run after the ultimate power like the Nazis were. We're better than this. We're different. So
Yeah.
let's
That's
go.
a really good point.
All right, last thing I had a really strong memory of this movie was, again, this is 1989, right? 1989?
Sure.
Yeah, that's when it came out.
Yeah.
Picture, if you will.
Damn, that wasn't that long ago.
We've done this a couple of times on the
Whoa.
podcast, right? Picture, if you will, a young James.
Picture, if
Yeah.
you will.
You know, some right around 11 years old watching this movie.
James.
I'm from-
Go play baseball. Huh? Yankees, what?
All right,
boy.
and when
Yeah, I
I
can picture it vividly.
remember, my voice did not sound like that. You're gonna do 11-year-old James, do 30-plus-year-old James,
Okay.
same voice. Anyway, yeah, the woman that double crosses Indy.
Mm.
I remember watching this movie, and I thought that woman was hot. You know, like,
She is.
like you when
Oh
you
my gosh.
when you reflect back, you remember like your first feelings of, wow, that's an attractive human being. Like, whoa, what? Like, you know, like before you adapt, you sort of
Yeah.
develop attraction in that level, if you know what I mean. People are just people in movies, right? They're either
Yeah.
jerks or they're heroes or they're villains, whatever, right? And I looked at that woman, I was like, God damn, she is hot, you know? And when she double-crossed Indy, I was so pissed off because I felt betrayed, you know? So, it worked well, like, at least on an 11-year-old kid.
She is such a good character too.
Mhm.
Like, I personally, my heart beats more for Marion, but pausing that, she is the most like self-actualized, functional human,
Yeah.
like, woman definitely in the series, right? And she
Mhm.
really is Indiana Jones's sort of equal in a lot of ways,
Mhm.
in a way that nobody else that he really has dealt with, especially women, is. And I love that about her, even if she's double-crossy and complicated.
And how about
And
her
greedy
bitter
as all hell.
end?
Yeah.
Right?
She goes.
Oh.
She has it all. She's like bested him, and she won't give it up.
That's what killed me about it too. You gotta imagine. Again, imagine.
He wants her. He's like,
Yeah.
no,
I
I
know.
want to save you, even though he knows that she's terrible.
Oh my god, I was so, what a complicated situation for 11-year-old James. I was like, I really fell in love with you because you're hot, you know, very base sort of level of attraction, and then you double cross Indy, so now I hate you, but then Indy wants to save you, so I want to save you, but God, you can't overcome your own fucking greed.
Yeah.
You got it all, lady, and you could have had James.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm sure she will deeply regret when she listens to this
Oh,
podcast.
she will.
And
You coulda
finds
had
out
this.
that you could have.
You could have had James.
backwards Yankee hat and all.
Okay.
It's not the Indiana Jones hat.
So Crusade is great. I think that they figured out the adventure aspect, the mystery aspect, the action set pieces, the boat chases, all the practical effects and everything. They borrowed so much from the Bond series, so much from all the good action adventure flicks that come at that time. They had a wonderful father-son adventure, good relationships, good characters involved in this. Some nice throwbacks to earlier films. It was like a perfect sequel to make and also stand alone. Because it does stand alone. You could watch that movie and you would get a ton out of it and you wouldn't need anything else.
And that's actually true for all three movies, which
Yeah.
is really, it's a big achievement in a trilogy that feels unified, that feels like it's telling a bigger story, but they all do stand alone in an amazing way.
And to link this to the Star Wars trilogy as well, since we're talking about Lucas, that's something really awesome that Star Wars and this Indiana Jones trilogy does, is each film takes place very far apart from the other films. Tons of things have happened and developments have happened, enough so that he puts the scroll up on the screen to tell you what the hell went on. He's like, here, I'll catch you up to speed. You don't have to go back and watch the other film. You can be right here, right now, pick this up, have a great time with this wonderful romp through the sci-fi universe or through the fantasy realism of this archaeological endeavor. Archaeology, used very loosely.
Archaeology in quotation marks is very, very
Right.
important.
So that was really great about all those films.
You know what? My final comment about the trilogy is going to be this.
Mhm.
Here's the power of Indiana Jones for you before they start fucking up, right? Here's the power of Indiana Jones. A lot of people have come around and tried to imitate. And the greatest example I have of this is the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies, which in my opinion are fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Like I don't like they tried so hard to, and that's what happens when you try to artificially hype something up and pump hype into it. When you're in effect, you're just duplicating or you're just biting off of something that already did it way better.
Now I must say, the first Mummy film I enjoy, and I see that they exactly want it to be Indiana Jones.
Mhm.
They've created no iconic character in Brendan Fraser, but I still enjoyed that first film when I watch it purely as a fun experience.
I saw it too much as a copycat. What do you think, Sarah?
I'm with James.
Yes.
Although
It is absolutely a copycat.
I have a soft spot
sure.
in my heart for Lara Croft, which is another Indiana Jones ripoff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that is something that I really enjoyed, even if it is very much a ripoff in all of her cultural forms.
Yeah.
How
But
can
I-
you not enjoy Lara Croft?
I like the spookiness of the Mummy that Indy doesn't really bring to the table, except in Temple of Doom. But the kind of horror genre blend of it, and there's some good comedy and there's some really amazing set pieces in it and everything. It's one of those films where I'm like, objectively, is a great movie. It's slightly above average, but it was really fun for me to watch for the first time, and it does recapture some of that adventure that this started. But it's no replacement. It's no supplement.
They
for
tried
this.
to cram so much garbage down our throats. Scorpion King and all.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Enough.
Well, it just goes downhill after that.
Nothing is as iconic as Indy's whip, his hat, his confidence, his cockiness, everything about him.
Is there anything wrong with Crusade?
I really liked Sarah's comment. Next time I go back and watch it, being the militant atheist that I am, I'm gonna be like, this fucking bullshit, this cup and all this shit never happened.
Yeah, and
shit never happened.
Yeah, there's no alternate explanation, right? That's the problem with it.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people enjoy that. I'm trying to think about what it is besides that, because I'm sure I don't like it for other reasons. That's just the thing that's top of mind. But I think that is like the thing that bugs me the most, weirdly.
Yeah, and and then when they introduce aliens, everybody goes, "Whoa, no,
Yeah.
the aliens are stupid." I'm like, well, is it more unbelievable than the stories we have from history about organized religion?
The shitty looking mug that gives you eternal life.
Yeah, in principle, I would take aliens over the Holy Grail. In execution, there is a big difference, but aliens, it's also just a much better premise for an archaeologist and anthropologist,
Right.
because anthropologists tend to view religions and things through the lens of studying them, and so I find it really hard to imagine that Indiana Jones doesn't
Indiana
have a
Jones
moment.
5, The Shroud of Turin.
Oh dear.
And they
Oh,
could,
dear.
Sorry for cutting you off. But
you
it
could
just
have
became-
you could
No,
have
it was
used
a good.
you could have used the religious aspect of it to unlock so many secrets and
Yeah.
ask questions about it and pose questions to people. Like, do we want to know if there's awesome power, or do we just want to let it be and have the live and let live aspect? They could have done a lot without being like, oh, and here's the guy and he drank the water and he's
Yeah,
all good because Jesus,
Yeah, there could have been more mystery, right?
Right.
There could have been, I'm sure there's a way you could have done it where there was mystery as to why the Grail works in a deeper way. Because in Ark of the Covenant and, in Raiders, there is some mystery. I am not convinced that the Ark of the Covenant has anything to do, the power in the Ark has anything to do with the biblical story it's from. It could just be that, ancient Israelites found this amazing source of power, or they found something from something else.
Exactly.
And that all we know is their story about what it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like
I love that because it could have been a reinterpretation of history and big ideas and these truths that we've held for thousands of years, and we're digging them up and we're looking at them again.
maybe it was aliens all along. Maybe it was aliens.
And that's what they
Raiders.
tried to fix with the fourth one. It was aliens all along, and they blew it out.
Indiana Jones 5, Noah's Ark.
Aliens all the way down.
Yeah, whatever.
All Jones 6, the AI is sentient. Indiana Jones 7, it's Terminator. Let's be honest, we're in Terminator.
Retirement home. All right, wrap it up, Kyle.
I love all these films. They're wonderful. Sarah, do you have any final comments about the trilogy?
I think we've addressed all of it. They're great films. We clearly all love them, even if we have favorites or, least favorites. None of them are bad.
They are dated. They have some dated filmmaking themes and storytelling ideas. They are stereotypical. They introduce bad and reinforce bad stereotypes.
Yeah.
But they're great.
Something can be great and a product of its time and place. That's
true.
fine.
Very true.
Sarah's good at this.
She is good at this.
She said a couple of she's a smart cookie.
She's a smart cookie over there.
Yeah. All right.
That's pretty creepy.
This is now creepy color.
I was gonna say Kyle. Kyle has the desk next to mine, and I'm gonna be looking at him tomorrow.
I got the chair next to him right now, and I'm moving away from him.
Smart cookie over there.
And with that, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on and talking to us about Dr. Jones and his adventures. Anytime. And if you have any big ideas about the Indiana Jones trilogy that we missed, send them to us at loudontheset@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Can't wait for Indiana Jones 5.
Let's be optimists.
Okay.
Let's be optimists.
All right.
Shall we
I'll try.
patiently be
I'll try.
optimistic?
I'll try for you, Sarah.
Did they learn? Did they learn from the CGI nightmare? There was Kingdom of the Giant CG Ants. Did they learn? Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll never know.
We'll find out.
We'll find out soon. All right. Again, thank you so much for being here, Sarah. Loudontheset@gmail.com. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes. Go watch Indiana Jones again. It's wonderful, and have a terrific time.
See you later.
And cut.